Hello, welcome to Cine Club. For those of you that don't know, my name's Ronald Chase. I am the sort of narrator I introduce many of the films at Cine Club. I've done that ever since 1998 when we first had our first Cine Club at Dolby Labs. Um, so tonight we're going to see a film by Federico Fellini. Fellini is considered one of the greatest directors of the 20th century. Between him and Bergman, they sort of rule the roost. There are some other marvelous, great filmmakers like Tarkovsky, like Kubrick, um, that also Kieslowski, that also have a great place in film history and literature. But Fellini is one of the very most interesting and one I'm really happy to introduce you to tonight, if that is the case. We're going to see his earliest film that hit the international market. Before that, he had had a couple of films that he had made that were very well known in Italy, but they really didn't come to America yet. This is the first film that won an Academy, the Foreign Film Academy Award. It also was his introduction to the American public, and it played all over America in what we call small art houses. These were new in the 50s, and it was a sort of excitement to be able to go out and see films coming from Europe that were by directors that no one had ever heard of, and that also they were films not like the American public was used to in the 50s. When I say that, it's because these films coming from Europe, they had a different edge to them. They often were very sad. They often were dealing with people from the lower class that didn't have a voice, and that we really didn't see very many films about them in America. In this particular case, the film is so important. This La Strada is so interesting because it basically lays out all of the interests that Fellini had in life and film that he will explore the rest of his life. There are elements of all of these things in La Strada. It's a simple story of a young girl that is bought from her family to accompany a strong man who works on a circus circuit all through Italy. So, in a sense, it's a road film. She is experiencing the world and life that she has never experienced before. However, the film is quite cruel. The man is a kind of brute, somebody that really doesn't have anyone that loves him. He doesn't have any friends. He is a sort of show off, not a very pleasant character, and yet her character is enormously entertaining and lovable. She somewhat channels Charlie Chaplin with her performance, and the actress happens to be the wife of Federico Fellini. He made many films with her, but this was surely her standard film in which she plays this sort of young, innocent character. In this film, she basically maybe is sort of a little bit disturbed, maybe sort of she doesn't have much intelligence. In fact, none of the people in the film are very intelligent except for a clown who is played by an English actor who I think, you get a sense that he understands human nature and he understands people and he understands, life, and yet he has his own strange, quirky world in which when he spots something that he really dislikes, he teases it and he makes fun of it and he doesn't let up. You can see that that will have certain consequences for him. Um, and also, there are also other themes that are introduced in the film that I think you may find interesting. One of them, of course, is the element of magic, which appears in all of Fellini's films. In fact, many of his films are only magic. We have the element of religion that comes in, and the element of all of the sort of incredible religious ceremonies that dot the Italian landscape. We have people living in isolated places that are affected by the poverty of the war, etc. And then we have also, as I said, a great deal of magic that borders on poetry. In this film, it's kept to a minimum, but it is a theme that is constantly present in Fellini's work. There's also this idea of redemption or of incredible, loss and sorrow. I think these elements are what make La Strada extremely effective for everybody. I have to confess, when I first saw it, I literally was bawling at the end, and I had to go back immediately to see it again. I saw it, in fact, 3 times on the first weekend that I saw it because I couldn't believe the things it was doing and the characters that so affected me in the film. I think that in retrospective, as I go back to the film, yes, from our standards, we could say, well, it's a little sentimental. I don't know really what that means other than it is very emotional. And I think maybe some people really are upset or uncomfortable with something that might affect them or they seem as a parent emotion. Also, the performance of the young girl seems a little over the top sometimes. I don't think, I really don't find that myself. She is operating from a certain universe that is basically her own. And I think that's often what great actresses do, is they kind of make a world for themselves in a film. And this is a very, very good example. One other thing I think you might be interested in is that the 2 actors both speak English in the film. Anthony, the strong man, it was a rather famous Hollywood star. The other, Richard Basehart, was a English actor who had not become very famous. He was in a few films, but not ones that made a great deal of impact. This is his only film with Fellini, and he makes the most of it. I think the interesting thing there is that the films are dubbed. And it was a habit in Italy to dub all films. And so what happens is that the directors could easily use foreign actors and then dub them. There's something about the Italian language that makes that possible so that you really do not recognize it so much. Yes, if your eyes are eagerly, right into people's mouths and their voices, you could detect the fact that they're not speaking Italian. But Italian has as much variation in the way that people move their mouths that often the dubbing, the Italian sounds actually real. So what it is they leave the Italian in to capture the feeling of the country, the space, the rhythm of the language that is so important in understanding Italian films. So I'm really dying to hear what you have to say at the end. I hope you'll join us for our discussion. It was terrific last week. Everyone enjoyed it so much, so I certainly hope you'll join us on Zoom after the showing. That's about all I can say. Have a marvelous time looking at La Strada.